It was a quiet Thursday afternoon when the email arrived in my inbox. I was sitting in my office in downtown Boston, surrounded by tall buildings and busy streets. At that moment, I was busy reading through grand jury indictments. These are very important legal papers that describe crimes people are accused of committing. My office is located at the headquarters for the U.S. Attorney, which is a very serious place where we handle big cases for the government. The email was from my mother. She told me that my younger sister, Melissa, was doing something very big that coming Saturday. Melissa was co-chairing the Children's Hospital Gala. This is a fancy party meant to raise money for sick kids. She was working on this event with a woman named Amanda Richardson. Amanda is the wife of James Richardson, who is a congressman. A congressman is a powerful leader who helps make laws for our country. Mom explained that this party was a critical networking event. This means it was a huge chance for Melissa to meet rich and powerful people who might hire her. Melissa has a business where she picks out furniture and decorations for houses, which is called interior design. Mom said that many elite clients would be there. These are the wealthiest and most famous people in Boston, and Melissa wanted to impress them. But then the email took a mean turn. My mother wrote, "You are not to attend." She was telling me that I was not allowed to go to the party. She said that if I showed up, it would be embarrassing for the family. She said this was because of my situation. She didn't want me to be there because she thought I wasn't successful enough to be around her fancy friends. My mother said my situation was a problem. She used that word because I had quit my old job at Morrison and Price. That was one of the most famous and expensive law firms in all of Boston. It was the kind of place where everyone wanted to work. My family thought that by leaving such a famous company, I had made a huge mistake and ruined my life. 3 years ago, I was doing very well at that big law firm. I was on the partner track, which means I was close to becoming one of the bosses of the company. I could almost see myself in a big corner office with a great view of the city. I was working very hard, but my family only cared about one thing: how much money I was making. At that old job, I was making $320,000 every single year. That is a huge amount of money for anyone to earn. But even though I was rich, I wasn't happy. I felt like I wasn't really helping people. So I decided to walk away from all that money. I left the fancy office and the big salary behind to do something different. I decided to become an assistant U.S. attorney. Now, I make $147,000 a year. That is still a good amount of money, but it is much less than I made before. My new job is to prosecute federal crimes. This means I go to court to prove that people who broke important national laws should go to prison. I wanted to do something that actually helped the world. When I told my mom I was taking the new job, she was very angry. She told me I was throwing away a great career. She asked me why I would do such a thing. I told her I wanted to play hero and do work that really matters. She didn't like that answer at all, and she was so mad that she just hung up the phone on me. My younger sister, Melissa, was actually happy when I quit. For a long time, I was the one everyone talked about because I was a successful lawyer. With me out of the spotlight, Melissa could finally be the star of the family. She wanted to be the most successful daughter, and she was glad I wasn't competing with her anymore. Melissa worked very hard to build her own business. She designs the inside of houses for the richest people in Boston. To get clients, she goes to charity parties and joins expensive clubs. She even married a man named Walsh, who manages a lot of money for a hedge fund. They were doing exactly what our parents wanted them to do. Melissa and Connor live in a very fancy neighborhood called Beacon Hill. They take expensive vacations in a place called the Hamptons. They spend their time with people who have a lot of money and power. To my parents, Melissa was the perfect daughter because she lived a life that looked impressive on the outside. She was their new favorite. My life is very different from Melissa's. I live in a simple condo in a place called Cambridge. I work very long hours, sometimes 70 hours a week. My job is to catch bad people involved in organized crime, people who steal money, and people who lie to the government. It is very hard work, and it takes up most of my time. Because my work is so dangerous, I have to be very careful. I even have a security detail, which is a group of people who protect me. This is because I have received death threats from 3 different criminal groups who are angry that I am trying to put them in jail. It is a scary part of the job, but I do it because it is important. Even though my work is dangerous and important, my mom still thinks I am wasting my life. She calls my job throwing my life away. After reading her mean email, I decided to just delete it. I didn't want to argue with her. I turned my attention back to a big case on my desk involving a crime family in Boston. This was a RICO case, which is a special law we use to stop groups of criminals who work together. We were only 3 weeks away from the trial. We had a lot of proof that the crime family was doing bad things. 2 people who used to work for the criminals had even agreed to help us by telling the truth in court. I felt good about the case because the evidence was very strong. It looked like we were going to win and send the criminals to prison. Just as I was thinking about the trial, my phone buzzed with a text message. It was from my sister, Melissa. She wanted to make sure I had read our mother's email about the big party on Saturday. Melissa's text was very blunt. She said, "Please don't come." She explained that Amanda Richardson was the most important person for her business. Melissa wanted to meet all of Amanda's rich friends so she could get them to hire her. She told me that she couldn't have her prosecutor sister, they're scaring everyone away. I tried to be nice, so I typed back a message. I told her, "Congratulations on being a leader of the party. I hope it goes very well." I was trying to show her that I wasn't mad, but Melissa didn't think that was enough. She wrote back immediately, saying that my message wasn't a real answer. Melissa demanded that I promise her I wouldn't show up. I told her, "Sarah, I won't crash your event." I wanted her to stop worrying. But then Melissa said something very hurtful. She told me that I had made my choice to work with criminals instead of being with my family. She said I should let the smart family members have their night. I put my phone down and tried not to let her words hurt my feelings. It is hard when your own sister calls you a failure. Just then, my helper, Kevin, came to my door. He had a stack of documents about the Richardson family. These were the financial papers for the Congressman, covering the last 5 years of his life. I needed those papers for a different case involving a man named Phillips who was accused of corruption. Corruption is when someone in power does something dishonest for money. I told Kevin to just leave the papers on my desk. He stayed for a second and asked if I was okay because I looked a little bit annoyed. I told Kevin it was just family stuff. I told him about the 2 kinds of conversations I always have with my family. One is about why I don't make more money, and the other is about why I should stay away from their important events. They always make me feel like I am doing something wrong. Kevin felt bad for me. He said, "Ouch." But then he reminded me of something very important. He told me that I am the one putting away bad people who have hurt families for a long time. He said that doing good work like that is worth much more than having a big, fancy office or a lot of money. After Kevin left, I picked up my phone again. I looked through my list of friends until I found Amanda Richardson's name. Most people only knew her as the Congressman's wife, but I knew her much better than that. Amanda and I were actually very close friends, but my family had no idea. Amanda and I were roommates when we went to Harvard Law School. That is one of the hardest schools in the world. We studied together and helped each other survive the very difficult first year of classes. We were there for each other when things got stressful, and that made us friends for life. After we graduated from school, Amanda went to work for a judge, and then she married James Richardson. Now he is a congressman representing a part of Massachusetts. Even though we were both very busy, we stayed close friends. We would get coffee or text each other all the time to see how we were doing. Amanda knew all about my job. She knew I was a federal prosecutor and that I worked hard to keep people safe. I also knew about her work helping sick children and her foundation. But my family didn't know we were friends because they never bothered to ask me about my life or my friends from school. My parents were always too busy being disappointed in me. They were mad that I chose Harvard Law School instead of Yale. They wanted me to go to Yale because my dad's old roommate was a boss there. They didn't care about what I wanted. They only cared about how things looked to other people. I looked at the last text Amanda had sent me. She had asked if we could have lunch soon because she missed me. Then she asked a random question. She wanted to know if I was related to a woman named Melissa Chin. She told me that Melissa was helping her run the hospital gala. I had told Amanda that Melissa was my younger sister. Amanda said that Melissa was very enthusiastic and talked a lot about meeting rich people. She told me that Melissa had a very different energy than I did. I agreed and told her that Melissa and I are very different people indeed. But now, after reading the mean messages from my mom and sister, I changed my mind. I decided I was going to go after all. I sent a text to Amanda asking if the invitation was still open. I wanted to see the look on my family's face when they saw me there. Amanda texted back right away. She said, "Absolutely." She told me she would put me on the VIP list, which is for the most important guests. She said she was so happy I was coming. Then I asked her a very important question. Does my family know that we are friends? Amanda said that she didn't think Melissa knew. She said Melissa only mentioned that I worked in law enforcement, which is a general term for police work. Amanda asked me why I was curious. I told her it was a long story and that I would see her on Saturday night. When I was growing up, I was the golden child. That means I was the one who was good at everything. I was the top student in my class, I went to a great law school, and I got a very good job working for a famous judge named Patricia Morrison. She is one of the most respected judges in the country. But then I made what my parents called a mistake. Instead of taking the job my dad set up for me at the big law firm, I chose to work for the U.S. Attorney's Office. I wanted to use my skills to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. I wanted to make the world a safer place. My mom thought I was being silly. She called me naive, which means she thought I didn't understand how the real world works. She thought money was the only thing that mattered. Melissa, who was just starting her design job, was happy because for the first time, she wasn't living in my shadow. Over the next few years, I worked very hard and became well known in the legal world. I put a dishonest politician in jail, and I stopped a group of people who were hurting others in a human trafficking ring. I even caught big criminals who had been breaking the law for many years without getting caught. By the time I was 32, I was promoted to a senior position. My boss even said he would help me become a federal judge one day, but my family didn't know any of this. They didn't know about the awards I won or the big stories about my cases in the newspaper. They never even asked. Amanda Richardson was the only one who really cared. She sent me a text every time I won a big case. She would tell me that I was incredible. When I was in danger and needed protection from the FBI, she called me right away to make sure I was safe. That is what a real friend does. On Friday night, Amanda called me. She was very excited for the party, but she wanted to warn me about something. She said that Melissa had been telling everyone that she was the successful sister. Amanda realized that Melissa didn't actually understand what my job was. Melissa told people that I worked in local law enforcement, like a regular police officer. Amanda knew that being a federal prosecutor for the U.S. Attorney's Office is a much bigger and more difficult job. I told Amanda that I stopped trying to explain it because I was tired of being judged. Amanda was quiet for a second. Then she told me that she and her husband were the hosts of the party. She said that if my family was mean to me, she wouldn't allow it. She reminded me that I am a brilliant lawyer who has done amazing things to help the country. Amanda told me that even the Attorney General, who is the top lawyer for the whole country, had talked about me in a speech. She said I was an example of excellence. She told me she wouldn't let my family make me feel bad because she knew how important I really am. After we finished talking, I sat in my quiet apartment and wondered if going to the party was a bad idea. I talked to my boss, who is also named Richard Chin. He told me I should definitely go. He said that Amanda and her husband are very important people who care about the same things we do. My boss told me that meeting people like the Richardsons is good for our work. I told him my family would be there and that they don't like me very much. He smiled and said that my family should see what I have become. He told me to go and remind myself that I am a great prosecutor. Finally, Saturday arrived. The party was held at a very fancy hotel called the Four Seasons. It was a black tie event, which means everyone had to wear very expensive clothes. I wore a beautiful navy blue dress that I usually save for big law meetings. I arrived at the hotel at 7:15 in the evening. The ballroom was beautiful. It was filled with the most important people in Boston. I saw famous business leaders and very rich families. Near the door, I saw Melissa standing with Amanda. Melissa looked great in a green dress. She was talking to an older couple about how to design houses. Amanda saw me first, and her face lit up with a big smile. She shouted my name and ran over to give me a big hug. She told me I looked beautiful and that she was so glad I came. Melissa saw this and her smile completely disappeared. She looked very confused. Melissa asked me, "What are you doing here?" I told her simply that Amanda had invited me. Melissa couldn't believe it. She asked, "You two know each other?" Amanda laughed and said that we were roommates at Harvard and that we have been best friends for more than 10 years. Melissa's face went very pale. She looked like she had seen a ghost. Amanda didn't notice and kept talking. She wanted to introduce me to everyone. She called her husband, the Congressman, over to meet me. James Richardson was very tall and looked very important in his tuxedo. James shook my hand and told me that Amanda talks about me all the time. He said it was wonderful to finally meet me. I told him it was an honor to meet him too. He told me to just call him James because I had helped Amanda survive law school, and that made me part of the family. Then James turned to the rich couple Melissa had been talking to. He introduced me as one of the finest prosecutors in Massachusetts. He told them that I was a senior assistant U.S. attorney. The older man, Robert Whitmore, looked very impressed when he heard my name. Mr. Whitmore asked if I was the Sarah Chin who handled the big Giordano case. I told him that I was. He said my work was remarkable and that the case had been a huge deal for the whole city. His wife, Eleanor, said she had also followed my other big cases. Eleanor told me that my work was invaluable to the city. Melissa just stood there with her mouth open. She couldn't believe that these rich and powerful people knew who I was and respected me so much. Amanda then took my arm and led me away to meet more people. Amanda wanted me to meet the boss of the whole hospital. As we walked away, I looked back at Melissa. She looked like she had been slapped in the face. She was totally shocked. For the next hour, I felt like a celebrity because so many people wanted to talk to me about my work. I met many donors who told me they had followed my cases. One person asked about how I catch criminals who steal money, and a retired judge told me he had read my legal writings and thought they were brilliant. Amanda teased me and asked why I didn't tell her I was famous. I told Amanda I wasn't famous, just good at my job. But she said that being talked about by the Attorney General makes you famous in the world of law. Across the room, I saw my parents arrive. They were standing with Melissa, and they looked very confused and uncomfortable. At 8:30, Amanda went up on a stage and asked everyone for their attention. The room got quiet. She thanked everyone for coming to help the children's hospital. She said she was happy to be working with Melissa, and Melissa gave a small, weak smile to the crowd. Then Amanda said she wanted to recognize some special guests. She talked about people who choose to serve the public instead of just trying to make a lot of money. She said she had a lot of respect for those people. Then she told everyone that her dear friend Sarah Chin was there. Amanda told the whole room that I was a senior assistant U.S. attorney who handles very dangerous and complicated crimes. She talked about how I have courage and skill. Then she asked me to stand up. My heart was beating very fast as I stood up in front of everyone. Suddenly, the whole room started clapping. It wasn't just polite clapping, it was very loud and lasted a long time. Mr. Whitmore stood up, and then everyone else stood up too. It was a standing ovation. Everyone was cheering for me and the work I do. I saw my mom's face go totally white. My dad was staring at me like he was seeing me for the first time in his life. Melissa looked like she was about to cry because she was so overwhelmed. Amanda then told everyone that I had gone to Harvard and worked for a famous judge. Amanda told the crowd that I had even been recommended to become a federal judge. She said that success isn't just about money, but about the impact you have on the world. She raised her glass to me and thanked me for everything I do. There was even more clapping. I sat down, and my face felt very hot because I was embarrassed by all the attention. Amanda came over to my table and asked if she had said too much. I told her it was fine and thanked her. She pointed out that my family looked completely shocked by the news. Amanda asked me how my family didn't know how successful I was. I told her that they never bothered to ask. Amanda got a little bit angry. She couldn't believe that I had been doing such important work for 3 years, and my own family had no idea. I told her that once I left the big law firm, they just decided I was a failure and stopped caring. Amanda's face got tight with anger, and she walked away for a moment. 10 minutes later, my mother walked up to my table. Her hands were shaking. My mother asked if she could speak with me. She sat down and said she didn't realize I was friends with Amanda Richardson. I told her we were roommates at Harvard. Mom flinched and said I never mentioned it. I reminded her that she never asked me anything about my time at school. Then Mom asked about my work. She finally realized that I wasn't just a regular lawyer. I explained that I was a senior federal prosecutor. I told her about all the big cases I handle, like catching criminals who hurt children and politicians who are dishonest. Mom looked very lost. She said they thought I was working in a local court, which is a much smaller job. I told her again that I work for the United States government and that my cases are very important. I told her that the people clapping for me knew exactly what I do. Mom asked why I didn't tell them. I told her that I did tell her, but she just told me I was throwing my life away. So I stopped trying to talk to her about it. Then she asked about me becoming a judge. I told her it wasn't a sure thing yet, but I was on the list. Mom sat back and said she didn't understand why I would give up all that money. I told her that I make $147,000 now, which is plenty of money for me. I told her that doing work that matters and protecting people is worth much more to me than a bigger paycheck. I looked my mom in the eyes and told her that she never wanted to know the truth. She had decided I was a failure, and I let her believe it because I was tired of fighting. Then Melissa showed up. Her face was red because she had been crying. Melissa told me she was sorry. She said she had told everyone I was just a regular police officer. She didn't know I was a powerful federal prosecutor. I told her I had tried to tell her many times, but she wasn't interested in listening to me. Melissa said that Amanda Richardson was her biggest chance to meet new clients. But now, everyone knew that I was the successful sister. She asked me, "How am I supposed to compete with that?" She was still thinking of our lives as a big game. I told Melissa that our lives are not a competition, but she said that to our parents, it always was. She said she finally had something to be proud of, and now I had taken that away from her by being even more successful. She was very upset. Then my dad walked up. He looked very uncomfortable. He said that Amanda's introduction was quite a surprise. He admitted that he didn't really understand what my job was. I told him I had explained it when I started, but he just didn't think it was important. Dad said that Robert Whitmore had spent a long time talking about how great my work was. He called my cases landmark, which means they are very important. Dad asked why I didn't share my successes with them. I gave a sad laugh and told him he never asked. I reminded my dad that they didn't even invite me to family parties because they were embarrassed by me. I asked him why I would share good news with people who already thought I was a failure. My dad's face turned red because he knew I was right. My dad tried to say they were just concerned about my future, but I told him they only cared about status. They wanted to be able to brag about their daughter. They thought a lawyer at a big firm sounded better than a prosecutor until they realized how important a prosecutor is. I told them that Mom's email was very hurtful. She wanted me to stay away so I wouldn't embarrass the family. I asked them how serving my country and catching bad people could ever be considered embarrassing. Just then, Amanda came back to the table. Amanda said there was someone else I needed to meet. She told me that Judge Patricia Morrison was there as a surprise guest. My heart almost stopped. Judge Morrison is the woman I worked for after law school, and I have so much respect for her. I followed Amanda across the room to meet the judge. Judge Morrison was wearing a purple dress and looked very elegant. When she saw me, she stood up and told me how wonderful it was to see me again. I told her it was a huge honor to see her too. The judge told me she had been following my cases and thought my work was masterful. She said I had used the things she taught me very well. I thanked her and told her that her lessons were the most important part of my career. Judge Morrison said she heard I was on the list to become a federal judge. She told me that my boss, Richard Chin, had said I was one of the smartest people he had ever worked with. Then she said something amazing. She was going to call the government to help me get the job. I heard someone gasp behind me. It was Melissa. She had followed me across the room. Judge Morrison asked who she was, and Melissa introduced herself as my sister. The judge told Melissa that she should be so proud to have a sister like me. Melissa's voice was very quiet. The judge asked me to have lunch with her soon so we could talk about law. After the judge went back to her seat, Melissa grabbed my arm. She asked if I realized that a federal judge was going to help me get a huge promotion. Melissa asked if I knew how rare it was to become a federal judge at such a young age. I told her it wasn't official yet, but she said everyone at the party already knew it was going to happen. Melissa's eyes filled with tears as she realized how much she had missed. Melissa told me that rich people were telling her how proud she must be of me. She started to cry and said that she had never been proud of me before. She had only been jealous of me. She finally realized that she was wrong to feel that way. The party finally ended at midnight. I was getting my coat when Amanda found me. She apologized if the introduction was too much for me. She said she only did it because she couldn't stand seeing my family treat me like I was a problem. I told Amanda that I appreciated her having my back. She gave me a hug and said we should get coffee next week. As I turned to leave, my mother appeared one last time. She asked if she could drive me home because she wanted to talk. I told her I had my own car, but she begged me to let her drive me. We drove through the city in silence for a while. Finally, my mother spoke. She told me that she owed me a very big apology. She wanted me to let her finish what she had to say. Mom said that she and my dad had spent 3 years treating me like I had made a mistake. But tonight, she saw that the most powerful people in Boston treated me with real respect. She realized that they respected me because my work truly matters to the world. I didn't say anything. I just listened. Mom talked about how Judge Morrison is one of the most respected people in the whole country. She realized that if someone that important thinks I should be a judge, then I must be doing something incredible. Mom said she had been so focused on things like big offices and high salaries that she didn't see what I was building. She realized that I had accomplished more by age 32 than most people do in their whole lives. She said she was very sorry for treating me like a disappointment. I told her that I appreciated the apology, but it didn't fix 3 years of being ignored and hurt. Mom said she knew that and didn't expect me to forgive her right away. But she said she wanted to do better and finally be proud of me. When we got to my building, Mom asked if I would explain my work to her sometime. I looked at her and saw that she looked older and smaller than before. I told her that she had to accept that I chose this job because I love it, not because I failed at something else. I asked her if she would still think I made the right choice tomorrow, or if she would go back to wanting me to have the rich corporate job. Mom was quiet for a long time. She said she realized she had been measuring success with the wrong ruler. I told her that words are easy, but her actions over the last 3 years had been very different. She promised to show me with her actions from now on that she had changed. I got out of the car feeling very tired from all the emotion. Before I left, Mom told me that Melissa was devastated. She said Melissa realized that none of them really knew who I was because they were too busy judging me. I agreed with her and said goodnight. It was a very long night. On Sunday morning, I woke up to find 15 missed calls and 43 text messages on my phone. Melissa sent many messages saying she was so sorry. My dad sent a text saying he was proud of me. My mom wanted to get coffee and finally hear about my work. Even my Aunt Carol sent a message asking why no one told her I was a federal prosecutor. Amanda told me that people were still talking about me, and I even got a message from Judge Morrison's office asking to schedule a lunch date. I decided to ignore the messages for a while and went for a run outside. When I came back, my helper, Kevin, told me that I was trending on the internet. People were talking about Judge Morrison's comments and calling me a hero. I didn't really want the attention, but I saw that other lawyers and students were celebrating my work. They said that my cases were textbook, which means they are the perfect examples for other people to study. It was very nice to see. Even people who usually argue against me in court said that I was fair, ethical, and brilliant. They said I would make an amazing judge. Then my boss, Richard Chin, called me. He asked what happened at the party because he was getting so many calls. I told him about Amanda's introduction. He laughed and told me that Judge Morrison had already called him. She told him that I was exactly the kind of person who should be a judge. My boss told me that the country needs more people like me. My boss told me to accept the job if the government offered it to me. He said I chose the work because it matters, not just to get a promotion. After we hung up, I sat on my couch and thought about everything that had happened since I quit the big firm. 3 years ago, my family called me a failure, but I had built something real. I had changed lives and earned the respect of my peers. That is what real success looks like. On Monday, Melissa showed up at my office without an appointment. Melissa looked around my simple office and told me she came to apologize in person. She admitted that she had spent 3 years being jealous of me and pretending I was a failure. She said she was completely wrong about who I am. Melissa said she realized that I do dangerous and important work. She said she felt bad for calling me a failure just because I didn't make as much money as she wanted me to. She realized she was looking at things the wrong way. Melissa told me that Judge Morrison had talked to her at dinner and told her how I had saved women from bad people and changed state laws. The judge told Melissa that she should be proud to have a sister who is genuinely changing the world. Melissa started to cry again and asked if we could start over and be real sisters. I told her maybe, but I warned her that I would never apologize for my career choice again. She said she finally accepted that and wanted to be part of my life. Over the next few months, things started to change slowly. My mom started asking me questions about my cases. She even came to hear me give a speech at Harvard Law School. My dad sent me a note saying he was proud of me, which was very nice. Melissa and I started getting coffee every week. She stopped comparing us and started asking about my life. Amanda and I became even closer friends, and we worked together to help fix the legal system. Everything was finally going well. In March, a job for a federal judge finally opened up. My name was sent to the government. Judge Morrison and Amanda's husband both helped me. Finally, in June, it was official. I was going to be a federal judge at only 33 years old. The ceremony was held on a Tuesday morning at the courthouse. The room was packed with people. My old team, my friends, and even some people I had put in jail came to watch. Judge Morrison was the one who helped me take the oath. I promised to be fair to both rich and poor people and to follow the Constitution of the United States. I said, "I do." My whole family was there in the front row. My mom was crying happy tears, and my dad looked very proud. After the ceremony, my mom pulled me aside and told me again how wrong she had been. She said I hadn't thrown anything away. I had built something extraordinary. She called me Your Honor, which is what people call judges. Amanda came over with a smile and told me that Judge Chin had a very nice ring to it. She said I had earned it every step of the way. She raised a glass to me for choosing the hard path that actually meant something to the world. I looked around at all the people who believed in me. I realized that I didn't need my family to tell me I was successful to be happy, but having them finally understand me felt really good. I was exactly where I was meant to be. As I walked out of the courthouse that day, I felt a deep sense of peace. I had stayed true to myself, even when it was hard. I had proven that success isn't about the size of your paycheck, but the size of the heart you put into your work. My new life as a judge was just beginning. I knew there would be many more hard cases to decide, but I was ready. I had the respect of my colleagues and, finally, the love and support of my family. I was a success in every way that mattered. I thought back to that Thursday afternoon when the mean email arrived. It felt like a lifetime ago. That email was meant to push me away, but it ended up bringing me closer to the people I loved. It forced the truth to come out. I realized that sometimes you have to stand up for yourself, even against your own family. By doing what was right, I had helped my parents and my sister see the world in a better way. We were all better people because of it. That night, as I sat in my home, I felt grateful for my friend Amanda. Without her, my family might never have known the truth. She was a true friend who stood by me when I needed it most. I was a very lucky woman. I also felt grateful for Judge Morrison. She had seen something in me when I was just a student and had helped me become the person I am today. I promised to be a judge just like her, fair, smart, and kind to everyone who came into my courtroom. My story shows that you should always follow your dreams, even if other people don't understand them. If you do work that you love and that helps others, you will find true happiness. And in the end, that is the most important thing of all. I looked at my new judge's robe hanging in the closet. It was a symbol of all my hard work and the choices I had made. It was a symbol of justice. I was proud to wear it and proud of the life I had chosen for myself. The Children's Hospital Gala had changed everything. It was the night the failure became a hero in the eyes of her family. But to me, I had been a hero all along, just by doing my job and helping people who needed it. I knew that the road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but I wasn't afraid. I had my friends, my family, and my principles to guide me. I was ready for whatever came next in my journey as a United States District Judge. As the stars came out over Boston, I felt a sense of excitement for the future. I had a lot of work to do, and I couldn't wait to get started. My life was full of meaning and purpose, and that was the greatest success of all. I picked up my phone one last time and sent a simple text to Amanda. "Thank you for everything." She replied right away with a heart. I smiled, closed my eyes, and fell asleep, knowing that I was exactly where I belonged. The next morning, I arrived at the courthouse early. My new office was much bigger than my old one, but I didn't care about that. I only cared about the cases I would be deciding. I wanted to make sure I did a good job for the people. My first day as a judge was filled with meetings and learning the new rules. It was a lot to take in, but I was a fast learner. I felt a great sense of responsibility. Every decision I made would affect someone's life. I thought about the people who would come before me. I wanted to be a judge who listened and who was fair to everyone, no matter who they were. I wanted to be a judge who the community could trust to do the right thing. As the weeks went by, I became more comfortable in my new role. I enjoyed the challenge of the work and the chance to make a difference. I was happy and fulfilled, and I knew I had made the right choice 3 years ago. My family continued to be supportive. Mom and Dad even came to watch me in court one day. It was a very special moment. They saw me in my robe, sitting on the bench, and they saw the respect that everyone had for me. Melissa and I became very close. She even asked me for advice on her business. I was happy to help her. We were finally real sisters, and it was a wonderful feeling. I was glad that we had moved past the jealousy and competition. I also stayed in touch with Judge Morrison. We had our monthly lunches, and she continued to be a great mentor to me. I learned so much from her, and I was honored to be her friend and colleague. Amanda and I continued to work on our reform projects. We were making real changes to the system, and it felt great to see the results of our hard work. We were a great team, and I was so glad she was in my life. Life was good. I had a meaningful career, a loving family, and great friends. I was a senior assistant U.S. attorney who became a federal judge, but more importantly, I was a person who was happy with the choices I had made. I knew that my situation wasn't embarrassing at all. It was something to be proud of. I had served my country and my community, and I had done it with courage and skill. I was a success, and I was finally okay with that. So, if you ever feel like you're not successful enough because of what other people think, just remember my story. Success isn't about money or status. It's about doing work that you love, and that makes the world a better place. If you stay true to yourself and work hard, you will find your own path to success. And in the end, you'll see that the people who really matter will be proud of you for exactly who you are. My journey from a fancy law firm to the judge's bench was a long and difficult one, but it was worth every single step. I wouldn't change a thing. I am Sarah Chin, and I am exactly where I am meant to be. I hope my story inspires you to be brave and to follow your own heart. Don't let anyone tell you that your dreams aren't important. You have the power to change the world, just like I did. And remember, the next time you get a mean email or a hurtful text, don't let it bring you down. Use it as a reason to show everyone what you're really made of. You might just surprise them and yourself. The Children's Hospital Gala was just one night, but it changed my life forever. It was the night the truth finally came out. And as I've learned, the truth is the most powerful thing of all. So live your truth every day. Be proud of the work you do and the person you are. Success will follow, and it will be much more rewarding than you ever imagined. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps you find your own way to success and happiness. Remember, you are extraordinary, and you have the power to do great things. Good night, Boston. Good night to the hardworking prosecutors, the brave judges, and everyone who serves the public every day. You are the real heroes, and I am proud to be one of you. And a very special good night to my family and my friends. Thank you for believing in me, even when it took a little while. I love you all. As I look out the window at the city lights, I feel a sense of peace. I am Judge Sarah Chin, and my story is just beginning. I can't wait to see what the future holds. The end of one chapter is just the start of another. I'm ready for the challenges, the victories, and everything in between. Let's make the world a better place together. Final thoughts as I drift off to sleep. Success is impact. Success is integrity. Success is love, and I have all three. I am truly blessed.